before moving to the display setting and this kind of stuff, we need to discuss about the window and the UI itself and how to manage the window, how to close it, how to reopen it, how to reposition it, and these actions. So, for example, you are going to open the Substance Painter for the first time, and you just see this UI with this exactly this arrangement. Okay, so I prefer to close the asset, to close the, for example, texture set setting and set list. And I just want to reposition the properties. Okay, so I need to click on the name and drag the window. And now I can reposition the window on the position that I want. Okay, so this is the way that we can reposition the window. And for example, you want to give more space to this window, you need to move your mouse in here on the border, and the icon is changed, and now you can click and drag and you can resize the window like this. So this is the way that we can close the window with this icon, and we can reposition the window. As you can see, I just reposition the properties from here to here, or just I can redo this thing. That's it. And yeah. And I can reset the window or UI in here. So I can come over here in the window menu, and in here I can use reset UI. And everything is default, back to default mode that Substance Painter decide for us. Okay, so I'm not okay with that, and I just change my computer, and I'm working on a new machine, and my UI is not like the old machine, and I just want to transfer that UI to this software on this machine. And for this purpose, we need to come over here in the window, and we can save the UI layout. We are in the painting mode. As you can see, we are going to discuss about the baking mode and the rendering mode after these introductions. But we are in the painting mode, so I'm going to press painting mode. Okay, and I'm going to save it on the desktop. So for example, test, and press enter. Okay, we are going to have a file on the desktop with the SPUI extension, and now in the new machine I can load my UI like this, and boom, it's going to load. And what's happened to those windows that we closed? Okay, they are not closed completely. They are docked in this toolbar, and we can just press on the icon, and as you can see, we can access to the window, but they are just floating. They are not fixed on the UI, but you can open or close with clicking on the icon like here. You can use the dock option and dock the menu on the UI, or you can use undock option to have the floating window, and you can reposition, for example, this window to the second monitor or third monitor. So this is a way that we can manage the window inside Substance Painter. Okay, let's go and talk about the display setting, and let's dock the setting here. We are going to display setting if we want to change anything related to the environment, I mean lighting condition, the camera setting, or the viewport setting. So whenever we decide to change setting related to these categories, we need to come over here in the display setting. Okay, and we are not going to cover all the setting, all the slider and this kind of stuff, because we don't need to know everything in this window. We are going to just cover the most and the common feature that we are going to use inside Substance Painter. Okay, so let's go for the viewport setting. We have texture filtering, and in the texture filtering, we have anisotropy filtering. Whenever you have the anisotropy effect on the viewport, I'm going to talk about that in the future, you can control the quality of that in here. So this is the important setting when we are going to work on a metal surface. Okay, this next setting that we are going to use a lot is a mesh wireframe. When you are in some tools, maybe it's going to be enabled on the model or in the viewport. But whenever we want to see the topology on the model inside Substance Painter, we just need to enable this option here. And as you can see, we have the topology on the viewport. And you can control the opacity of that in here and the color of the wireframe. So this is the way that we can enable the wireframe inside the viewport in Substance Painter. So let's go for the camera setting. In the camera setting, we can select any camera that we have in the list, as we can do that in the viewport. Okay, so for example, this is the camera C4, and we can control the camera frame in here like this, and we can enable or disable that. So let's go back to the default camera. And for each camera, we have some setting here. For example, we can set the focal length or the perspective that we want to have. For example, for each project, this is the main step that I'm going to take in the first of the project. So I'm going here and change the focal length, for example, to 50. That's it. And we have the post effect, which I'm going to talk about it when we are going to render with the eye array inside Substance Painter. And we just skip that for now. And we have the TAA setting, or temporal anti-aliasing. If I just zoom here and deactivate this, as you can see, we have some jagging edge in here. And when I enable it, yeah, it's gone. And we can decrease the quality with this slider. Okay. And there is another option that we are going to use a lot inside Substance Painter, which is tune mapping function. Tune mapping function is related to the color space in viewport. So we have two different color space as a default in Substance Painter, which one of them is linear. This is the linear color space. And this is the aces. And we are going to use aces as a default function for tune mapping in each project that we are going to create, because after that, in the Marmoset or in Unreal Engine or anywhere else, we can put the function for tune mapping to aces and get the result like in the Substance 3D viewport. So this is a tune mapping setting. It's a little complicated to explain which one is better and what is the theory behind the color space and this kind of stuff. We just need to know, okay, we need to change the function to aces to achieve more a little contrast and darker color. And we can put the same setting for the render engine that we are going to use after to get the same result, actually, if we consider the lighting condition same as the Substance 3D viewport. So this is the most usable and most common feature in the camera setting, in the display setting. And let's go for the environment setting. In the environment setting, we can decide the HDR light map inside the Substance Painter. So for example, I'm working on this material and yeah, it's good, but as we can understand, this is the PBR material. So it means when we change the lighting condition, the result of the material is going to be changed like in the real world. So we can change the environment map here. For example, yeah, this is the flat light, or maybe this one, as you can see, or I just can use this HDR. And whenever we hold shift and right click and move the mouse, we can see the environment rotation is going to be changed. And actually with this shortcut, we are just changing this. And you can do it manually here. So we have environment exposure. We can increase the exposure inside the viewport, or in other way, or in other words, we can increase the exposure of the HDR and we can have more light in the viewport. So we can decrease the exposure or we can increase the exposure. That's it. And whenever we use ACES as a function in tune mapping, I suggest you to increase the exposure to 1 or 2 just for the maximum brightness. Okay, as you can see, we have a black background in the viewport. We can change it. We change the environment opacity. Okay, when we change the environment opacity, actually we can see the HDR that we select. Okay, and if you don't want to see the whole image with the clear mode, you can use environment blur to have a soft image on the background. Okay, and we can use another option here, which is environment alignment. And if it's set on the word, as you can see, when we change the camera and the position that we are going to see from that, the HDR is rotate with the camera. And when we change the environment alignment to camera, as you can see, the HDR is fixed and we just rotate the model itself, not the HDR and the model. So it means with the camera is fixed and we just rotate the model. And when we change it to word, the model is fixed and we are rotating around the model. So this is the translate of this feature.